Hi everyone! Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Schmincke Aqua Drop set that I just got recently. This is a set of 5 dropper bottles, finest liquid watercolours. Now on this box it says 5 30ml bottles plus a liner. I have no idea what the liner is. It is not in there. I don't know what it is. If anybody knows what the liner is, please let me know in the comments. But let's have a quick look and get into it. So it's in a nice box. And here, as I said, we've got the 5 bottles. We have opaque white, magenta, lemon yellow, cyan blue, and deep black. Not a liner to be seen. Never mind, I'll just work with what I've got. Now, what I'm going to do is pull everything out, move this box out of the way, and I'll come back with my sketchbook that I've set up for swatching, and we'll go from there. Okay, I've got all my bits and pieces ready, some brushes, palette, my rather grubby looking water pot, and we'll have a go at swatching some of these out and see what they look like. Now for the opaque white, it's a little bit difficult to do just on the white paper, so I think I'm going to leave this for later. I'm going to do a painting with everything and I will use the white. The white is meant to be used directly, and I would say it's used for adding highlights and things like that. So that's what I'm going to do with it. So I'm going to put the white aside for now, and we're just going to look at the 3 primary colours and the black. So what I will do... Oh, that's got a ball bearing in it. Can you hear that? So that's good. I imagine that these are actually pigmented, so there will be some sediment in the bottom. And it does say shake before use, so let's give it a bit of a shake. Shake, 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 shake. And I'm just going to drip a little bit into here because I think dripping it onto the paper is just going to be a colossal mess, so I think I might do it to the ladylike way. Alright, let's have a look. I imagine the stuff goes a long way, so I'm just going to put a couple of drops in for now, and I'll do the same with the yellow, which I might do. That is a really bright yellow. Look at that. Wow, that is very, very bright. And the black, not black, the blue, the cyan blue, which looks to me like phthalo blue, I would say. Yeah, that's definitely phthalo blue. Okay, all of these have really great light fastness. This has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars, so that I think is the highest level. The magenta's also got 5 stars, and so no, the yellow's only got 4 stars, but that's still very light fast. So I would be happy using all of these in any situation, any painting. The yellow says semi-transparent. It's got that little line through the square there, and as you can see, the magenta and the cyan are just empty squares, so that means that these are totally transparent. Oh yes, we've got a pigment number. This is PB15 column 3, which is definitely phthalo blue. This one is PR122, which off the top of my head is quinacridone magenta, or quinacridone red, I think. And yellow, what's yellow? PY3, that's pretty much your standard Hansa yellow, I think. I will check that. It might be, it's not diarylite, is it? I think it's Hansa. But we'll check that. I'll write the name of that one up because I just can't remember exactly what that one is. And black, of course, is 5 stars, and that's more semi-transparent than this one. So this one's more opaque than the yellow. And this is a PBK7. And I'll just quickly drop out some black, shall I? And then we'll have them all. Let's put that there. Yeah, that looks pretty dark as well, so that'll be good. Alright, I will probably zoom in so we can see the page, and I will get to swatching. Alright, so first thing I'll do I will wet the paper for these ones because I want it to run. And you know what? I am going to go directly on there. I'm just really curious to know what it does, so I'm going to do maybe 1 or 2 drops, we'll see. Let's drop one on and see what it does, shall we? Because I've no idea. This is the first time I'm using these. Whee! Look at that. That's awesome. Let's add another one. Droopy drip. That's pretty cool. I like that. What a beautiful colour. Let's just spread that out a bit so we can see it. That is so transparent. I haven't even drawn a black line on here, but you can just tell by looking at it that that is massively transparent. Quinacridone magentas pretty much always are, I think. Look at that colour. It's so vibrant. Oh my god. It's so bright. I love it. I could see that these would be quite challenging to work with if you wanted to do something that with a more muted palette, because these are just right in your face. But that's how I like my colours. I would much rather have a colour that's really, really bright and be able to dilute it down than have something that's just not pigmented enough and you just struggle and struggle to make it dark. It's much easier to tone down than it is to bring the colours up, I think. So I am happy with that magenta. Let's just quickly scrub some water on. It's been very humid outside and I've got the air conditioner on and set to dry, so it is quite dry in here, but everything was just feeling really damp and horrible and I can't get my paints to dry and it's driving me crazy, so yes, I need to put the dry on. Okay, up with our lovely lemon yellow. I think this is one's going to be just as bright as that magenta, and I'm not wrong. Although you can see that this one's a bit thicker because the magenta just went like that, whereas this one has just sat pretty much where it's dropped. And I usually find that with yellows that they do tend to be a bit heavier in their pigment and therefore a little bit more opaque. But when you paint it out, it's pretty much transparent, just as much as the others, just slightly more opaque. But I mean, it's very hard to tell unless you use it really, really thickly. So that's not bad. That's a nice bright yellow. And lucky last, I can already imagine that the phthalo blue, or the cyan blue as they call it here, is going to be really, really bright. I've still got yellow on my brush. How annoying. Sometimes even when you scrub with the brush in fresh water, you still manage to pick up colour. It's very hard to get rid of them. Anyway, it's not going to be enough to make a significant difference because this paper is a little bit cream as well, so I'm sure we'll live. Cyan blue, shaky shake, and let's drop it on. I want to see if this one spreads. Yeah, that one's got a lot of spread too. Wow. You can still see where it's dry on the paper, but I'll paint it in. It is such a beautiful colour. I just adore phthalo blue. As I was saying in my video I just did with the core watercolours, and I was rapturing over the phthalo blue on that one too. But it's such a pleasing colour. It's just this lovely sapphire, happy, bright colour, and it's so transparent. So this is fabulous for layering and putting on things that you want to see other things underneath. So once again, beautiful. There we go. And while I'm doing the single colours, I may as well do the black up in this corner. So I'll just wet that like I've done. This is a Taklon brush, and so it's not holding a lot of water, but it's what I had at hand. I was a bit lazy, if I'm honest, to get out my hairy brushes that hold a lot of water. Some of them are synthetic, but most of them are squirrel, I cannot say that word, squirrel hair brushes, and they do hold so much more water. Alright, I'm gonna give the black a go. Yeah, that's full on. Just added a second drip there. And I'll just paint that out. That's a nice sooty black. It's quite neutral, maybe leaning slightly to the warmer side, it looks like. At least under these lights it looks warmer. I could be mistaken, but it's pretty neutral. It's not too leaning in one direction. Some blacks will be quite blue and others will be quite sort of browny colour, but this one's, yeah, pretty much all-encompassing. I mean, I've added a tiny bit of water so it's diluted a little bit, but otherwise that is very, very dark, very opaque, and very all-covering. So that's a great black. I really love that black too. What awesome colours. I love these colours. They're just fabulous. I'm really impressed with them so far. Okay, so what else I thought I would do is make some mixes, because obviously 3 colours is pretty difficult, but these colours, what I call the printer primaries, so you've got your magenta, your yellow and your cyan. These colours will make other really nice secondary colours, although the orange may be a bit blur because these two are really, really cool. But I imagine that we're going to get a really good green and a really good purple. So I thought I'd put them out and we'll have a look. I've got bits of, I don't know what, on this paper. This whole sketchbook is getting really grubby. I've been using it quite a bit and there's paint all over it and bits of dust and I don't know what else on it. And some kind of pigment that's done something weird there, but never mind. That's what a sketchbook's for, making a mess. Okay. What am I going to do? Do I drip them on? I'll paint them on, I think. Alright, so I've got a bit of cyan, a bit of magenta. What am I talking about? I've just got no colour language today. And I'm putting in that yellow, so let's have a look. We'll mix it around a bit. Yeah, it's as I thought. Magenta and yellow kind of doesn't really make a very good orange. It's not too bad. I mean, technically it's actually more, it looks more like a red at the moment, so that's why people say that magenta, yellow and cyan are the true primaries, because you can make red from the magenta and the yellow. But I don't know, I mean, back in the olden days, you know, like centuries ago, they used red and ochre because those are the colours they had. They didn't have magenta, so whatever, I don't really care about the semantics. But actually now I'm letting it just sit and sort of splooge out into the paper. It's not bad. It's perhaps not as bright as it could be. So if you had a warmer red, like a nice deep red rather than the pinker magenta, you would get a much stronger orange. But it's quite a pleasing colour. I don't mind that at all. So let's have a go with the green. Okay, this cyan, this phthalo blue is going to be horribly, horribly strong, so I'm going to have to be really careful. I might start with the yellow, since I've got the yellow there. Let's just paint a bit of water on, and I'll get some yellow on. I'll mix that up in that corner, and then what I might do is bring the blue in, and see if we can get a decent green without it being too blue heavy. I need to use less blue than I've used yellow, so I'll just start over here and then we'll just kind of combine them in and see what we get. Might need to add some more yellow eventually, but yeah, can you see how bright that green is? It's almost fluorescent. So if ever you want colours that will make a really great green in your palette and you're limited with the number of colours you can have, definitely get yourself a phthalo blue and a nice cool lemon yellow as well, because these produce wonderful bright greens like this. I'll just mix that in a bit and we'll just try and get a bit of a gradient. Yeah, so I'm pleased with that. I think that's a nice mix. I might just add a little bit more yellow because it just looks too blue in this corner. Wow, you can see that. Add a tiny bit of yellow over the top and it goes really green. So that's good, I like that. So that's a nice mix. And lucky last is purple. Magenta is already leaning in towards the purple sort of spectrum, if you will. So by adding the cyan blue, that's just going to make, I'm expecting, an excellent purple. So just smear a bit of water on there. And I should have really started with the cyan blue, but I've already started with the magenta, so I put my brush in and I don't like to waste paint by washing it out unnecessarily. So we'll pop a bit of that, bit of cyan in there, and let's get them mixing and we'll see how we go with this. Yeah, okay. Gorgeous, gorgeous purple. I need to add a little bit more of both of them just to get a more of a mix. So I'll just add, oops, that was naughty. I didn't wash the brush first. I'll wash the brush first because I've already made a mess of the magenta. Okay, the blue is definitely a lot more overpowering, so I'm having to add quite a lot of more magenta into it. But it's turning into a really lovely purple. I'll just need to add a bit more, I think. I've run out of magenta in my palette already. Okay. Let's put a bit more. Okay, this is looking better. So that's a pretty amazing purple. That's why I chose the set, because I knew that I would get some really decent secondary colours out of it. And if you're on a tight budget and you can only have a limited palette, or perhaps you're travelling and you only want to take you know, a minimal amount of supplies, get yourself a magenta, a lemon and a cyan or a phthalo blue, and you can make quite a lot more out of it. See, I've already made 6 lovely colours here, and you could, if you go on the colour wheel, if you wanted to add, you know, just a tiny hint of lemon yellow to the magenta, you would make a nicer red, and you can make a lovely gradient. But I was not really in the mood to make a whole colour wheel. Personally, colour wheels don't really interest me that much. I find them quite dull, so I just thought I'd do this. But what I am going to do is a mix of all 3, because I'm really curious to know what comes out when you just mix all 3 colours. It should be either a grey to a brown. It depends, of course, on your amount of colour that you use. So if you use if you've got a more green and you add just a tiny bit of magenta, you'll get probably more of a brown. But we'll go for something that's maybe equal. So what I'm going to do is 1 drop of that. I do love that magenta. Boy, that's beautiful. The yellow, I might need to add some more of, we'll see. 1 drop of yellow, which is probably not... Oh, look at that. You could see how that just does not move compared to the magenta. The difference is quite drastic, isn't it? And I'm just trying to do a tiny blue, but yeah, that's probably going to be too much. Never mind. Let's mix it up and we'll see what we get. Okay. I might have to add some more magenta on top, because at the moment I've got... Wow, that's like a really, really deep green. That's really pretty, actually. But I think I will need to add just a bit more magenta, because it seems like the other 2 colours are quite a lot stronger. So that's almost like a, not a turquoise, but like an ocean green at the moment. That's pretty fabulous. I like it. But I'm going to add another drop of magenta on top, and I'm going to stir that in. And yeah, it's kind of gone a neutral grey. It's leaning towards purple. I don't really know what this colour is, so it's maybe a little bit harder to get a neutral grey out of this set, because all 3 are just so cool, and the blue and the yellow especially seem to be quite a bit stronger than the magenta. So that's pretty much it. I'm just going to go for 1 more drop. Hey, there we go. The thing is, I'm making it so dark, it's going almost into a purpley greeny black. It's quite a hard colour to describe what it is. It's sort of kind of, you can almost see the mix of all 3 except for the yellow one, which is, it's like a mix of green and purple together. It's very odd. But there you go, there's your neutral colour. It's a bit of a mess. So I would probably stick to these ones, and you will get something like this if all 3 colours mix together. And then of course you've got your black, which is flattened out. Now it's dried, it's quite a flat black. So this would be good for your details and things. Alright, well, I think what I really want to do is a bit of a painting, because swatches never really give you the full story of what paints will do. And these intriguing me. I'm loving these colours. So I thought I would do a painting on the next page over, and I will come back once I've set that up. Okay, so I've set this up beforehand. Here's one I prepared earlier, if you will. This time I've taped around the edges because my book is getting really grubby. I've been painting right to the edges and the paint's going over onto other pages and I'm making a bit of a mess. So I thought I would actually like tape off a border for this one. And my picture today, which I've actually just done a printout of, is this one, which I've gotten off Pixabay. I've put the link down in the description below so you can check it out. The actual photo is much squarer and the face has a mouth, but I wanted mine to be in my sketchbook, so I've just gone into Photoshop and cut out the bit that I wanted to fit the page. The model in the original photo has brown eyes, but I thought, because I've had some issues making her brown today, I thought, well, I'll make her eyes green, and there's not too much other green here. There's a little bit just around here, but I thought the eyes would be green, so I did that in Photoshop. I just changed the colour hues to make green instead. And let's get painting! Oh, I'm so excited! I love painting. And let's make a joyful mess. Well, this video is turning out to be a bit longer than I expected, but here we go. I'm adding water over it as I like to do, and also because the liquid watercolours are very runny, except for that yellow, which does stay quite a bit more. You can see the difference between that and the magenta. So I am going around doing kind of a base layer. It looks like an absolute dog's breakfast for quite a long time here. These colours were out of control, and it was certainly an experience. So I think I'm just going to let it go with some music rather than commentating on the entire thing. And you can see how a few times it just looks like a complete mess, and then you can see me, I think, pull it back fairly successfully. This was a really challenging painting. I made quite a few mistakes, but I think at the end I ended up getting something that didn't turn out too badly. So watch on and see if you can spot all of these little errors that I make, especially with the eyes. Here I'm using that dark neutral colour I made rather than the black, so this is a mix of all three primary colours together, and it's pretty dark. It works quite well, so you probably don't even really need to have the black. You could get away with those three primary colours and nothing else. Okay, this paper is really thirsty, so I've gone over it again with another layer or two of colour because the first layer just sank into the paper and it had gone a bit washed out and pastel-y, and I really wanted this painting to be super, super bright. And right here is where disaster struck. As you can see, the paint is absorbing into the eye, and I did not notice that until it was too late. And because these are really staining colours, there was no lifting it, there was no taking it out, so I've just had to incorporate it into the eye, and yeah, that was so annoying. But there was nothing much I could do about it, short of scrapping the whole picture, and that wasn't going to happen. Then I went in with some of the black, and the paper must have still been damp. It didn't feel like it was, but that black has just gone smeary and the whole pupil is a total disaster. That eye was just a nightmare. I was originally going to use the black with my tiny brush to line everything, but I just wasn't getting precision, probably because the paper was damp. So I gave up and went in with a black rollerball pen, one of my trusty Uniball Eye pens with waterproof ink that I really love to use. And this just worked out better. By the end of this, I was quite tired and a bit over it because I'd made these little errors, and using the pen was just a little bit easier, more in my comfort zone. I know it's probably a cop-out, but sometimes you just have to use what you use. The art dictates the materials sometimes, and I used it to draw in the eyelashes, the eyebrows, and just get a bit more line definition around the hands because it had all blended in together and it really needed something to make it pop. So that's what I did. And I'm using a slightly thicker Uniball pen here. So I used a 0.38 and a 0.7 to do all the outlines and to get a little bit of differing line thickness. I used the 0.38 especially on the eyelashes. I think using the rollerball pens over the top of my painting was a really good idea because now it's getting more of a pop art sort of feel to it, and before I wasn't really happy with it, but now I was a lot more comfortable with how it was looking, and it motivated me to keep going because I was sort of getting to a point where I just went, I'm not sure that I really want to show this, but now I really actually quite like it, and just adding in all of that line definition made the whole piece come together. And I finally got that opaque white, and I went around the whole painting with some white highlights. Being that the paper is still damp at this point, the white did sink in quite a bit, so I've gone over it a couple of times just to try and make it stand out as much as possible, because it absorbed it in, and while it looked white to begin with, after maybe a couple of minutes it had almost disappeared into the paper. But a couple of layers kind of worked better, and you could see the white a lot more clearly than if I'd just done one layer. I love adding white highlights. It really does finish off a piece and make it sing. Then to top off the fun, my taped edges ended up being really messy. So I ruled around it with a pen just to get a little bit of line definition on the edges. Some days you can't win. So here's my page spread. I made a bit of a mess today. I managed to pull it back. I think it's not a total disaster, but boy, they just went everywhere. They were so messy, but look how bright they are. They are crazy bright. So these would be fantastic, I reckon, on Yupo paper. Might need to try some out on Yupo paper and see how they react on that, because they could be really awesome. I like the neutral that came out once it dried. It's quite dark, and all of the colours, I think, except maybe the orange, which is a little bit dull, all of the others are really bright, and the white has sunk into the paper a bit. Now this may be because my paper still feels just a little bit damp. This paper is really heavy cotton. Oh, look at the edges, what a mess. And things do take quite a long time to dry on it. Should I go with the pen? Well, I'll just quickly do a little bit with the gel pen just to make it stand out. But I can see that the white's not bad. It's, as I've found with most other opaque whites, it never seems to be quite as opaque as you want it to be. So I'm just going over with the pen. The trusty old Signo Uniball white pen. It's hard to find anything that's whiter or more opaque than this pen. It's really great for adding a few highlights, so I'm just going to put a few on because I've lost quite a lot of the white, which is really annoying. Otherwise it's pretty cool. And I will give that more of a chance because I was a little bit impatient today and didn't wait quite long enough for the paper to dry, so the fault could well be with me. And as you saw, I lost control of these paints quite a bit. This eye, I've got a bit of smearing in, but you could say it's kind of like someone who has two different coloured irises, and maybe that is kind of cool on its own, so we'll call that a happy accident. Why not? Alright, so I'm just going to call this done. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with these. They're harder, I think, to control than watercolour paints are. They are just crazy bright. They go everywhere, especially that magenta. That magenta just flowed like crazy. But I enjoyed them. I'm glad I bought them. I really love the colours. I think they're absolutely beautiful and vibrant, and they're light fast, so you could do a painting like this and sell it easily because those paints are not going to fade. In fact, they are so staining. I've got it everywhere. I think there's still some on the table. Can you see that? I mean, phthalo blue never comes out of anything, so I'll have to repaint my backdrop, I think. But that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this review. I'm going to give them a 4 out of 5. That 1 star is just because they are quite difficult to use, but as I've said before, that could well be that I'm just not very good at using them, so we'll say a 4 out of 5 for now. 5 out of 5 for colour. I will give them that. 5 out of 5 for colour. 4 out of 5 for perhaps ease of use, but that's probably just user error, and I'm not going to blame Schmincke for that. So thank you again for watching. If you've been enjoying my videos, I'd really appreciate it if you can like this one, and also if you can subscribe so you can see more of my new content when it comes out, and if you ding the little bell down the bottom, that will let you know once I've got a new video out. So thanks again, have a wonderful day, and I will swatch you later. Bye!